Right. Thank you for joining us all tonight. Tonight, we are talking about mastering discipline and practice for entrepreneurial success. So that is going to be our topic. We're going to break this down tonight into 6 sections. And I'll repeat this as we go through, but for anybody who's going to be watching this later, I want to make sure that I've given an overview at the beginning. So section 1 is going to be understanding discipline and practice. We'll start with the definitions of those so that we make sure we're all on the same page. Section 2, we're going to be talking about the power of consistency, one of my favorite topics. Section 3, daily practices for success, different options for that and what that might look like for you. Section 4, embracing failure as part of the journey. Okay. And a lot of entrepreneurs that have come before us have had to go through this. So we're going to talk about them. Section 5 is the role of continuous learning, which is very important, which I was just talking about that I'm going to be going this week to Las Vegas for Traffic and Conversion Conference and the CES conference, which happens every January. So there you go, continuous learning. CES stands for Consumer Electronics Show. So in case anybody didn't know that. Section 6 tonight is going to be building a support network. And then we'll kind of wrap it up, conclusion, and everybody will kind of share and talk in our networking and Q&A will open up from there. So with that in mind, let's dive into the importance of discipline and practice in entrepreneurship. So this is really just kind of an overview. I want you guys to all be on the same page with me here. Discipline is really the cornerstone for success. It enables people to stay focused and persevere through challenges. And the thing here that I really want to talk about is it's discipline. Right now, we're talking about it for entrepreneurship. We're talking about it for our businesses. But think about all the other places and spaces in your life where discipline is key. Is it related to your personal like body and your fitness goals, right? Your exercise? Is it related to your emotional health? Is it related to your parenting? Is it related to your cooking, whatever is happening in your life? Discipline is really the cornerstone for all success that enables us to stay focused and persevere through challenges. So tonight we're going to be talking about that as it applies to entrepreneurial success. As we're laying this groundwork here, let's also talk about the importance of healthy habits. Regular practice of healthy habits is crucial for maintaining this consistency that we all want to have, both in, decision making for your business, for your health, for your family, for your relationships, right? So having good habits is something, as an overview, we want to all, agree is important. The third part of our kind of overview here is aligning on the fact that goal achievement is something that's at the forefront for all of us. Discipline aids in setting clear goals and, being able to follow through with the necessary actions to achieve them, even if you face setbacks or obstacles. And then obviously the next one is time management and then resilience building. So it's kind of like an overview of where we're going. And I've got a quote for you guys as we continue down this rabbit hole. Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, study, sacrifice, and most of all, love what you are doing or learning to do. And this is from Pele. He was a famous soccer player. And I'm going to put this quote in the Zoom for any of you that are like trying to write it down right now, because I know I read that kind of fast. So here's our Pele quote to ground us all for tonight. So you guys, for those who don't know, I played soccer in college. I've always been a big soccer fan. So there you go. All right, now we're going to talk about defining discipline and defining practice in the significance of achieving our entrepreneurial goals. So I'm going to read it to you. Discipline in entrepreneurship refers to the consistent application of effort and self-control in managing tasks, making decisions, and pursuing long-term goals. That sounds pretty good. Definition of practice in the context of entrepreneurship. This refers to regular and repeated exercise of skills, habits, or behaviors that are essential for your success. So we want to be disciplined and we want to continue practicing. Quick side note today, when I'm thinking about discipline tonight and I'm kind of putting my notes together, it's 5 o'clock in California. I sat down at my desk this morning at 8 a.m. and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna work for a little while and then I'll take a break for lunch. I'll probably walk the dog. And I'm like thinking to myself, this will be great. I gotta tell you, I have not gotten up yet. I mean, I had my coffee and I was like, oh man, another day gone. But I was really disciplined because I had a lot I needed to get done today. So that was probably not the best time management today, but we're going to talk about that in another section. So we all have room for improvement. All right. I have some fun stats to share with you guys regarding entrepreneurship and discipline. So, and these are all from different places. So the Harvard Business Review revealed that entrepreneurs who practice discipline and time management are 20% more productive than those who don't. I like that. I like the Harvard Business Review. So this increased productivity probably directly correlates with business success, which we all like. All right, now here's another stat for us, and this one is related to goal achievement. Now, this is according to Inc. magazine. It says that disciplined entrepreneurs are 30% more likely to meet their business goals. We can probably attribute this to their consistent approach, persistent efforts, right? All those things. The next statistic is related to long-term business survival. And this is a statistic from the US Bureau of Labor. And it says that disciplined entrepreneurs have 45% higher chance of surviving beyond the first 5 years compared to others, which is great. And as we all know, the first 5 years of starting your business are when most businesses fail. So I like that statistic a lot. And then the fourth statistic tonight is about financial performance. And this is from the Journal of Small Business Management. And it says that disciplined entrepreneurs reported a 33% increase in annual revenue compared to their less disciplined counterparts. So that's good. And our fifth statistic tonight is related to innovation and adaptability. And this is from Forbes. All right. Forbes states that disciplined entrepreneurs are 40% more likely to successfully adapt to market changes and to innovate, which we all know, being able to adapt to market changes and innovate is a key driver of business success, especially as our business landscape continues to rapidly change around us. So with that in mind, I know everyone in the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate is a fan of books. We were talking last week about books. We shared a bunch of books. I found a new one as I was looking at these statistics that we hadn't talked about yet. I'll share it in the chat. Here's a link to Amazon. It's a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and talks a lot about the things that I was just mentioning. So if you're looking for another book, there's another book that, might be helpful. Although, if you have other books that you've learned since the last time we talked, please don't be shy. Feel free to share those too. All right, so that takes us through section 1, which was understanding discipline. Plenty of room still to go. Section 2, the power of consistency. This we're going to talk about in relation to habits and achieving our long-term successes. So I really like to talk about Sara Blakey from Spanx. I think you guys have all heard me talk about her before. I talk about her in my book. I look up to her as a role model and a mentor who I've never met, but she really credits a lot of her success to the persistence and resilience and consistency that she had in the beginning. And I don't know how many of you know the ins and the outs of her early days. So I'm going to share it with you. in the beginning of, Spanx, it originated from, she had this personal need, right, for comfortable figure enhancing undergarments. Okay. I mean, fair enough, right? But a lot of the pantyhose makers, which is really all that was available at the time, those companies were mostly led by men, and they didn't really understand the need for this product, or really what the prototype was all about. So eventually she kind of just like wouldn't take no for an answer. And she was consistently calling the buyer at Neiman Marcus. And then eventually she finally got a meeting with the buyer. And she, in the meeting, literally personally demonstrated and put on the undergarments, which led to the first order. And then after that, then she started doing that in all of her meetings. She was like, okay, I'm just going to put them on and like show them how they work. And anyways, I thought that was really great. I think it took a lot of bravery for her to kind of go down that path. And she's got a quote that I am going to share with you guys, and I'll put it in the chat, but it says, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else." I love that quote from her because she basically didn't know what she didn't know. I mean, I read this thing one time that, she filled out the patent paperwork because she like was reading in a book how to do it. I mean, she really like didn't have like a big capital raise or anything. I mean, she just was passionate about what she was doing. So, if she can do it, then we can do it too. So I like that story about consistency. Um, all right. Let's see. Did I miss anything? No, I'm good. All right. Cruising right along. Section 3, daily practices for success. All right. So my daily practice for success today was basically sit down at my desk for, 10 hours. Probably not the right way to go about it. I should have done something better. And I'm going to share with you guys a couple different styles. I recently learned about something called the Pomodoro technique. And this is like a super old technique that's been around many, many years, but it was new to me. It basically breaks your time down into 25-minute intervals, separated by short breaks. So basically how it works is you select a task that you're going to work on, then you set a timer for 25 minutes. You work on the task and you avoid like any interruptions during this period. And then you take a break for like 5 minutes. And then during that 5-minute break, you stretch your legs, you take a bio break, whatever you need to do to clear your mind, stretch, right? Relax, reset, then repeat the process. And you do another 25-minute block. And I thought that sounded really cool. I would have had probably a more productive day. And Mary, I'm glad that you put that in there. There are apps. I haven't tried them, but that you can download that, let you practice this with some level of accuracy, and as well as customize or modify, like maybe 20 minutes is better for you, or 30 minutes or whatever, right? So you can work on that. But some of you might be listening to this and being like, that is not achievable for me. So some other popular techniques, and some of these I had been aware of, and you guys might have heard of them too, but it's nice to get a reminder. Time blocking is something that I think we've talked about before. This basically involves allocating a specific block of time for a certain activity. Let's say you're like, one that we've referenced before is like, I'm not going to take meetings until 11 o'clock in the morning. The whole morning is for me. Like that's my time block for thinking or strategizing or something. The other couple examples I'll give, the next one is, I guess technically it's called the Eisenhower matrix, but I call it the urgent important matrix. And I outline it in my book, and it breaks your time into 4 quadrants to help you prioritize things that are either urgent or important throughout the day, which it's my book. If you want to know what chapter, I can go look that up for you later. All right. The next one is kind of silly, but this might work for some people. It's the 2-minute rule. This basically says that if a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, that you should just do it immediately. This is effective for like clearing small tasks off your plate that might accumulate during the day that could eventually make you feel overwhelmed. Like this is like those little tasks like, oh, I need to fill up the dog's food and water bowl, or I, need to unload the dishwasher, right? And like, if you just do those right away, then they won't be hanging over your head later. The other one I wanted to share with you guys is the 18-minute plan. This was proposed by a gentleman named Peter Bregman. It involves spending about 5 minutes in the morning to plan your day, and then 1 minute every hour to refocus 8 times a day, and 5 minutes in the evening. This just seems too confusing for me, and I can't do it, but hey, it's out there and it's available and it's popular for some people. So it's got to be working for somebody. Okay, this last one that I'm going to share with you today actually was originated from Toyota's production system. And as you guys know, I used to do the marketing for Toyota. So pardon me on my, what do you call it? My pronunciation, the Kanban method. I probably butchered the pronunciation. So I'll put that in the chat because I don't know. I'm really not that great with pronunciation. So here we go. All right. So this one is Toyota's production system. This method uses boards and cards to visualize work and its progress. This is really good for managing workflow or for team collaboration. It's almost like a progress bar, right? If you can visually see how things are progressing, then that is helpful. I kind of modified this myself and used like a check box system because then I see progress through the day, and that makes me feel good. So anyways, if you're looking for more tips on productivity and interviews with the successful entrepreneurs, I recently learned about a show that you guys may have heard of before, but the Tim Ferriss Show. If you guys are interested in checking that out, that's a podcast that you can look up. So there's that. Although I think you can probably listen to Jim and Rod's podcast, which is pretty amazing too. So there's lots of podcasts these days. All right, let's dive into section 4. I don't like this section, but I couldn't avoid it either. Embracing failure as a part of the journey. I don't think I like to talk about it because I kind of like to pretend that if failure isn't an option, then it's not really there. But it is an important part of the entrepreneurship journey. So it helps with resilience. So let's talk about how can failure, help you be more likely to succeed in the long run. All right. So if you have, and I'm going to start with a quote from Thomas Edison. He says, "I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that something won't work." So that helps me reframe failure a little bit as part of the journey. So here is a stat for you guys. The Harvard Business School says that entrepreneurs who experienced failure with their first startup had a 20% chance of success in their next venture. So I like that. So it's like, hey, you're starting your first business, maybe you don't make it, but you're 20% more likely to do better the next time. So don't give up and, continue forging ahead. Now, this next point on this is, you guys may or may not know, I consult with the Small Business Administration, the SBA in the United States, and I help some of their young entrepreneurs who are just starting out. And we did a study that says 60% of entrepreneurs who had previously failed in a business venture were more likely to succeed in their next attempt compared to 18% of first-time business owners. So it's another example of how you can, learn from the past, learn from making mistakes. And, a lot of business owners who are successful now have been through this too. So if that's you and that's something you're going through, know that you are not alone. And there is a learning curve and there's adaptability. And, entrepreneurs who have failed and started again are more likely to kind of pivot their strategy and change their approach in order to be more successful in the long run. So I'm going to kind of glaze over the rest of that. That's as comfortable as I'm going to get with that topic, but it's still, it's still out there. So, okay. Section 5. I really like the role of continuous learning for all of us. And as we all know, we're fans of books. So there's a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, that helps to foster a growth mindset. So I will share that link with y'all, so you guys can check that one out too, but I'll share it later. And this is when I want to kind of lean in to what we're doing to be continual learners. So I mentioned during the call that I'm getting ready to go to these conferences. So that's a way that I feel like I'm continuously learning. Earlier, was it this week? Yeah, it's only Monday. Oh my God, this morning feels like a week ago. I was reading the TikTok trends for 2024. And if you guys haven't read it, if you have an interest in reading it, give me a hand up or ask for it at the end, and I'm happy to share it with you. But I feel like we're living in such a fascinating time for all of our businesses, because what worked a year ago may or may not be working for us now. And that means like your website e-commerce business, the platform might be outdated, or we might be using a new point of purchase software. I mean, I guarantee when I'm at Traffic and Conversion this week, I'm going to learn about new solutions and new technology. I saw this amazing thing. These guys who used to work at Apple have gone off and started their own AI business. It's a clip, like a pin. And from that pin, it's like you have access to, it's very Minority Report style, like stuff in front of you that's not there that you can engage with and interact with. It's really cool. So things are changing rapidly, and continuous learning can be overwhelming, but I encourage you all to try to stay up on trends as much as you can, and ask our community, when you want to know more about something specifically, we can point you guys in different directions. I was doing a consulting call this morning with an entrepreneur, and I was sharing some recommendations, and it felt like old hat to me. I was sharing things that I thought everybody knew, and I was blowing his mind. He was like, I'd never heard of this. I didn't know. And I forget sometimes that we don't all live and breathe the trends and what's happening and what's new all the time. So while I, have your ears this evening, I am going to share something free with you guys that I may have never mentioned before. I'm going to put it in the chat. There's something offered from Microsoft called Clarity that is a free tool that can be integrated into any website. And this is really amazing. They show live heat maps and they have recordings, and you can actually watch people who have been on your website. You can watch where they clicked, when they clicked, how long they stayed on a page. And my favorite part of this is that Microsoft actually gives you insights about what it means when someone hovers or stays or clicks in certain areas. So you're not just watching the recording, you're actually getting the AI insight into what it means. Because data is really not as useful if you don't know what it means, you can't do anything with it. So I love giving free tools. I love giving, free new learnings to people. So Microsoft Clarity is a great one. And then the other great free one that I wanted to share, that you may or may not know about, for anyone who is posting, which I imagine we're all posting. This is besthashtags.com. And if you're like, well, what hashtags are trending and related to purses or gaming, right? And this can kind of get you started. You can put in some hashtags that you think might get you started in one direction, and this will give you other ideas of ones to consider. So it's a great tool to also look up. And now this is for all of my marketing nerdy friends out there who really nerd out on this stuff with me. This one might not be for everyone, but this is called Built With. It's also free. This is what you can find what websites are really built with. So let's say maybe you're looking at a competitor, or maybe you're looking for a client. If you go on builtwith.com and you put in the website URL, it'll tell you what platform they're built on, what plugins, what apps they're using. All of that data just is instantly provided to you. So really fun. And, continual learning, is one of the things that I get excited about. So I'll continue to share as more comes across my desk in the next few days. And here is a quote to close out this section on continuous learning. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill, and the willingness to learn is a choice. So I will put that in the chat for everybody in case you guys want to put that Post-it note or sticky note up on your mirror. There you go. Okay. Now I am moving into section 6, which is building a support network. I was looking forward to getting to this section the whole time. Okay, because this is talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with mentors and like-minded individuals. And I cannot think of a better expression of that than this group. Absolutely. We are doing it. We're doing it right now. You all can check that box. This is it. Now, in addition to this group, which is our favorite, I want to encourage you to join other entrepreneurship communities, networking events, mastermind groups, any of that is good in your local community. So get that it comes to life in let's say you want to join your local chamber of commerce. That would be a great thing. Or maybe there's there's this organization near me called Leadership in Heels, where women get together and talk about business. I like that one a lot. But that might mean something different for everybody else. I think Jim one time did Toastmasters. That's another community of people to get around and spend time with. So, it's going to be different for all of us, but I'm glad that we all have this amazing foundation to grow from. So building a support network is great, and being engaged. I've got so many people on my LinkedIn profile. It feels like overwhelming. But I know other people are more disciplined. No, that's the wrong word. Other people are more I let everybody into my LinkedIn a few years ago. I just started accepting everybody because I was like, oh, more people, the better. But I think some people who were more guarded, and they were like, I'm only going to let people into my LinkedIn that I know. There's more value in that because now they've built a network that's supporting them. Whereas mine is now spam on, overload. So part of me just wants to start that all over. But anyways, it's another story for another day. All right. So I really wanted to make this about 30 minutes because I feel like our second half of these calls sometimes are just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the first 30. So I want to just do a quick conclusion and summary of what we talked about, and then we can move into the next part. So our key takeaways for today are: we had a good reminder about the importance of discipline and practice, and we defined what those mean in the context of entrepreneurship. We talked about the importance of consistency. We talked about resilience in the face of, potentially unforeseen circumstances. We talked about the importance of continual learning and having a strong support network. So here's another quote for you guys, because I'm kind of into quotes right now. Entrepreneurship is a journey that requires discipline and practice, but the rewards are worth every step. So there you go for that. With that, I think we will probably have a very robust discussion tonight where you guys all weigh in on what discipline and practice, means to you guys and your examples. And I figured Jim and Ron, you guys want to probably chime in first. Don't all raise your hand at once. Jim.
Why do you guys always go to me first? All right. I'm going to give you a quote. Been waiting to say it. Andy Frisella quote, by the way. His new book just came out, Mental Toughness. So if you haven't ordered it, get it. And if you haven't already, great. So his quote, and I'm so glad that this was your quote night, was: without discipline, you will never achieve any of the goals that you set for yourself. you will never achieve any of the goals that you set for yourself. So dissect that a little bit, right? And the first thing that comes to mind for me is back in my Spartan racing days, when I first went to my trainer, I said, hey, I'm 46, I've got a baby. By the time I turn 50, I want to be able to, pick the kid up and have fun and play outside. I don't want any restrictions, right? So I had the goal, and within that goal, my trainer started developing additional goals for me, which ultimately led to a Spartan competitive racing career, not only for myself, but with Samantha. Now, what you have to understand about competing at that level is the discipline that it took to get to a competitive state. And oftentimes we mistake discipline and what's required early on as trivial, non-important things that you could pacify or even skip over. But when you apply that to something that's really black and white, like your ability to run a distance from, whether that's down to the corner and back up to 43 miles in 24 hours, right? It requires the discipline to slowly build up your endurance and your skill and your ability to train yourself and your mind and your body and your diet, your psychological side of the whole thing. All of that requires discipline to be on a program consistently day after day. And when you look back, and I love the metaphor I used before about looking back in the rearview mirror, like, wow, look at how much I accomplished. Okay. The discipline is the ability to do those small things and not overlook them or trivialize them, because eventually those small things turn into bigger things. So if you're starting a business, sometimes this small thing is just picking up the phone and, how do I get a business license? Or who's going to be my accountant? Or joining this group, getting the foundational elements and building one thing on top of the other. And the reason why I focus on discipline is because too often we dismiss those types of things. And without those building blocks, without that foundation, your business will crumble. Your entrepreneur or entrepreneurship will crumble if you don't have the building blocks. So discipline is such a critical factor. I can look at it a different way too. You're in business and you have ebbs and flows and you wonder, why am I having ebbs and flows? Why is, different months tougher for me? Take a look at your discipline and your ability to stay at the level that you intended to be at when you started your business, or that you needed to be at, that you didn't allow things to get in the way of where you wanted to be with your goals, right? So for me, I knew when my business falls apart or programming falls apart or 75 hard or whatever it is, I first thing I look at is my discipline and what I'm letting go by or trivialize or put aside. And I know I can get right back on track by going back to my discipline plan and getting after it. So it's a great topic. And I would really study what discipline means to you, and then look at maybe some of your failures or your shortcomings, and look at, was discipline a part of that failure or that shortcoming? Okay. And then also look at it when you're building something, what is it going to take to be disciplined enough to find success? A lot of times in my coaching, I talk about becoming a student of your calendar, setting a schedule for yourself, setting aside your goals and your activities methodically on that calendar, and having the discipline to follow it, right? None of us are perfect. So don't get down on yourself if you're falling short of what that looks like, but knowing where you're at and knowing where you need to be is part of that discipline, and eventually it'll become habit and you'll get there. So I love that you brought that up. I love that it was in the first few pages of Andy Frisella's new book. I thought the book was just going to be more 75 hard program, which there's a complete section dedicated to that, but the intro to it is all about becoming mentally tough, and everything he talks about foundationally is discipline. So I'll let Rod weigh in and be quiet now. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel. Top six. I'm telling you, my mind's going through all of this. And Jim, I really appreciate the discipline plug on that as well, because I was going to talk about that and now I won't have to. I really like, though, that adapt and innovate. right, is part of what we need to do with that whole thing. And so looking at daily practices, and Rachel, you blew my mind with all these different systems. Everyone's got a system, right? Well, sometimes a system might work for a while and then you have to adapt or innovate, right? So don't just get plugged into one thing and think, I have to do it that way, because then you feel like you fail if you didn't. Just you're an entrepreneur, adapt and innovate. So I think those two go hand in hand. My daily practices, I'll set goals, I'll have all kinds of stuff, and then the phone rings, and then something comes up, and then my whole day goes a different direction. So that's one of those things we always have to be adapting and innovating. And I think that's probably as important as discipline when it comes down to it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about embracing failure, because you really went fast over that one, Rachel. So I'm going to weigh in a little bit there. And this is where I think entrepreneurs really have a benefit over entrepreneurs, because an entrepreneur who is engaged with the company, looking at management, looking at ways to improve things, whether you get paid for it or not, even if you're just observing best and worst practices at places you work, at places you have worked for before, you can actually learn from other people's failures without the cost, right? You can get paid to learn how not to do things. So, I mean, there's a benefit to working for other people. So, young people out there, if you're listening to this episode later on, know that working for others is a great way to observe other people's failures, and it doesn't come back on you. You never feel bad about writing on a resume, well, who was the former employer? Reason for leaving: business failed, right? Business closed. That's not on you. That's on them, unless you're the business owner, right? So it's a lot easier to embrace other people's failures and to learn from those. So think about that when you're out looking at places. And then on number 5, role of continuous learning. Man, I'll tell you, I love to learn. And I think it keeps your mind active. It keeps you young. And learning is, I think, fundamental to our growth. We should never, ever get into that rut of thinking we know it all. Continuously learn. But this is my caveat with that. So many of the books, even on our recommended list, a lot of those books are just repackaging what somebody else has said, but they're using different stories, or they're presenting it in a different way. So I'm going to have you focus on the basics. What are the real basics? And the real basics are people skills. How are you relating to other people? Managing your time and stuff, where you can pull those different tools and all that stuff in and just be consistent and work it into your daily practices. It's all good, but the basics when it comes to our learning have to be with how we relate to other people. And if we can master that, we can be a failure at, I shouldn't say a failure, not a complete failure anyway. We cannot be as good at some of the other stuff, but if we master the people skills, you're going to be a success no matter what you do. So really focus on that. How can you be better? How can you get better at dealing with and relating to other people, building your network, building solid, meaningful relationships with people, whether they're vendors or competitors? That competitor may be a business partner down the road. So really focus on the basics of people. And that's from the old guy on the wisdom section of this. I'm going to leave it at that and open it up for discussion or questions if anyone's got them. Thanks.
All right. While we are waiting for some hands to come up, in case anybody wants to jump in, but if not, I'm going to share, as I said that I would, the TikTok trends report of what's coming up for the year ahead. And I want to share it with like 2 notes. One is, and I think I've use this example. I don't know if I've told it to anybody on this call before, but I've said it before. So if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But if you think back into like the 1980s with cable television, and you would go to a specific channel for the specific content that you wanted. For instance, like if you wanted to go to MTV, you would watch music videos on their channel, right? And then later in like the 90s and 2000s, all of a sudden you go to MTV and you could be watching a reality show, you could be watching an interview, you could be watching all this crazy stuff, right? It changed. So TikTok, the last year or so, has been more like television used to be in the 80s. It's specific. You're on like a side of TikTok where the algorithm is feeding you hyper specific interested content. Like if you like funny dog videos or funny animal videos, like your feed is all going to be that. If you have a tendency to watch and like or comment and save posts related to cleaning and organization, you're all going to get fed that stuff, right? Whereas Instagram is more like television today. It's like, here's a sprinkling of all of the things that are me, right? Kind of like how MTV is now on not just music videos, it's all the different types of content related to anyone related to music anywhere, right? So I think that's something interesting that we're going to see as the algorithm changes is are other people going to be more like TikTok, or is TikTok going to change? I think that's something interesting. And then also TikTok is taking steps to compete in the YouTube space with horizontal videos and with longer form content. So that may or may not be a failure for them, but it's something that they're actively pursuing in the year ahead. So those are just some highlights that you'll see in the trends report. And now we will go over to our hand raisers. Samantha Riley, I think you came up first. Go for Sam.
Hello. Thank you. That was great. And totally, of course, as usual, hit right on the spot. I just feel like I have a full cup right now and things are crazy, and trying to manage is all the things, but it's good. It's great to have all these things, right? Anyways, so on to social real quick, because you're like the master of all the things, right? Anyways, I have one client that I'm in like the worst struggle bus ever on. And so they first had their Instagram like just banned, right? And totally not my fault. Not that I wouldn't take responsibility for it, but they're part of a franchise. And because unfortunately they weren't keeping like their hours and things open, they kept getting reported by corporate to close down their stuff. So unfortunately, that was a big disaster. Well, then I just started a new Instagram account, was like, okay, we're just going to figure this out and we'll repopulate and we'll put a different name and make it more look like a franchise than that like main name of that business. So then in the meantime, all was good. And then Facebook got, reported and stuff a couple times, and not for anything I was putting on there, but legit just because they're a franchise and had some issues. So because now Instagram's going okay, but now Facebook is in jail, I can't run ads right now. And I need help on how to build my following without being able to do ads. And yeah, I'm on the struggle bus with that one.
All right. I'm unmuted for myself. Oh God.
It's been brutal.
Meta and Facebook are the worst. They're the worst.
100%.
There's like, they take the cake. I think what you're doing right now by understanding the reason for the shutdown is a really good first step. So at least if you can uncover that, investigate like why they shut you down even, and get that answer, then you can prepare a contingency plan or rebuild. But if you can't get the answer of what you even did wrong, like that's where I would start.
Yeah, so I kind of have that established. I guess the bigger thing is I don't know how to, with the way things are with Meta now, there used to be all kinds of little tricky, fun ways I felt like I could, manipulate the system to build my following. But now I'm in a funk of, if I can't post ads and promote, boost posts, I don't know how to build my following. To be quite honest, I am at a standstill. All the little things I find and see and hear are not working. So I was just wondering if you had some fancy tricks.
What industry?
Fast food.
Fast food.
Yeah.
Let me
Anyways,
think
we
about
can catch up on this
and
one
get
later.
back- Let me think about it and get back to you with some ideas, because there are things. And fast food is rich with opportunity for that. So
Yeah.
let me
Okay.
circle back offline.
And one more random win, and not a like braggy thing, but wins are always good. And random, during the summer I quit, everybody knows I quit Flag Nor Fail, and that was like my first big gig that I had gotten when I started to try to do my own marketing stuff. And anyways, super funny today. I always say like everybody's replaceable. And so work as if you're irreplaceable, right? And so anyways, it was a super huge, great compliment today to get a message from Rob, the owner. And he's like, hey, like, when are you ready to come back and work for me? Right. And so when I'm sitting here thinking like, oh gosh, this summer, I just abruptly was like, I can't work for you anymore. I got my kids and all the crazy of life and stuff. It was, it's really awesome and a huge win from somebody you respect to get a message like, hey, when are you ready to come back? Right. So anyways, and thank you for all of you guys for building up my confidence to be able to even have gotten that job. So it was kind of neat.
Wait, are you going to take it back, or are you like, thanks, but no thanks?
Well, I don't want to do social again. Social over there is brutal just because there's so many aspects to it. But yeah, I was like, well, what are your thoughts? He was like, maybe there's another place for you. So anyways, who knows? We'll see. I have enough going on. I start teaching 2 classes tomorrow for homeschooling with like in a group scenario. And so anyways, my cup is full, but thank you for asking.
The compliment is fantastic. That's awesome.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. All righty. Taylor, what's up?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'll try and be speedy. Rachel, amazing topic. Seriously, every week I'm like dragging my feet at the end of Monday because they're Mondays and it's hard. And I'm always so happy that I showed up because it's always so relevant to whatever is going on in my business. Okay, my question actually also involves social media. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my dog away. I kind of made a goal. I did make a goal for myself. I wrote it down to enter more platforms, more social media platforms, because right now, as of right now, I've only worked Instagram. And so I would like to, I'm not sure about TikTok, probably eventually, but right now my goal is to get on Facebook and YouTube. So my first question, it's kind of a double question, is do you have any recommendations for how to streamline that posting process? Because I have started accounts on both of those platforms, but it's just so hard for me because Instagram is what I know. So that's what I do. And then I don't even think to like save the video and post it in the other areas. I have done that before. And then I got flagged because the music was from the other platform and it was just kind of a mess. So that's the first part of my question. The second part is we ran our first paid ad last month or 2 months ago. It was in November and it just was a total flop. Like nothing came of it. So I guess my question is is there strategy behind when you run the ads, or is it just not my time yet? And that's all.
Yeah. Okay. All good questions. So what other platforms is this for your e-commerce business?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are you using a scheduling platform?
No.
Okay. So
Just my brain.
just your brain, which is amazing, but we don't need your brain to work that hard. We need to do the work smarter, not harder in this one. So I'm going to give you and everybody 3 options for social media scheduling platforms. Now, the first one is called Sked Social, SKED. This one is my personal favorite. It's moderately priced in comparison to the others, and it allows you to post on all the platforms. So for your e-commerce business, you need to be posting 1 to 2 reels a day. Ugh, it's a lot. On Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That's 5 platforms. 2 reels a day. Holy crap. All right. So your problem then is content creation. Like, let's back it up. Like, we need to get you into a position where you can record a library batch of content. So I can share with you guys, I've got a guy who will come out and either meet with you and do this in person, or he'll teach you to do it virtually, and he'll get you set up with all of the tools that you need to do it yourself and teach you how to do it. So that you can then record like a pro, basically, but it's consistent content. Sprout Social and Hootsuite, those are other platforms out there. You guys can try them. They're a little more expensive. They do all the same things. But posting on all those platforms is really important. And YouTube is a huge one to drive sales, because YouTube, remember, is connected with Google. So that is not to be forgotten. And YouTube is doing a lot to push the algorithm behind their shorts, which is everything under 60 seconds right now. So that matters. Here's the thing about spending money. Your question about how you spent a little bit of money on social media ads and you didn't see a return on investment. Okay. I don't want you spending money on ads until you have consistent content that you're posting on all the platforms. And when you do, you need to decide that you've got enough money coming in where you can budget somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a month for your paid efforts. So that means you're putting money towards the spend, and you're putting money towards someone, not you, to manage that. So then you're going to start to see a return on investment. Like, for every $3 you spend, you make 5, right? Or for every $1 you make 5, or every $1 you make 8, or whatever, right? But it's not just like, oh, I'm going to put a couple $100 and see how that goes. Like, that's throwing good money away. Like, I urge everybody not to do that, because it's not enough to make an impact in this very overcrowded marketplace that we're all living in right now. So if we can get your content creation locked in, then that team that you're going to hire is going to help you, and you're going to have specific ads. Oh, I have another fun thing for you guys. This is so great. All right. And it's free. I love it when I give you guys free stuff. Hang on. This is totally worth the wait. There is this thing on Meta that for some reason nobody knows about. But you can see what anybody is doing for their ads. Okay. Where is it? I just was looking at this the other day.
Hey, Rachel, while you're looking,
Jim, did I send it to you? Oh,
no,
No.
not yet. But
No.
while you're looking
Okay.
for it, when you suggest, the days that you could get inexpensive ads on social media are pretty much gone, to your point. Don't throw away $100 or $200 at something. That gig is up probably the last couple of years. I think we kind of have ridden that as long as we could. Now it's just going to be expensive, I don't know. Is that right, Rachel?
Yep. That's exactly what I'm saying. So, all right, I found it. Okay, so you guys, this is a Facebook ads library. I just put in the search bar Starbucks. But these are all the ads that Starbucks is currently running. So you could put any brand into that search bar and see what ads they're running. Maybe it's a competitor that you wanted to check. Maybe it's an industry that you're interested in. So what I'm saying is, once you get to the point where you're ready to then start putting money behind ads and you want to see what other people are doing, I mean, and they're not having like 1 or 2 ads. They're having like 50 ads, right? And they're modifying them all the time based on which ones are resonating with people. So one of the topics I think we should talk about a little bit later this year is probably like lead generation, and those like lead tools, and drip campaigns. Like that's something else, but that's for another day. We should wrap up, but I am going to share with you guys this package for this content creation. You guys might look at this and be like, this is out of my budget. And you know what? That's okay. Like, I want you to know that this is a resource that is out there. If anyone is interested in this, the guy, Andrew, who runs this business, I can introduce you and you guys can talk about it. But this is like the goals that we should be setting for ourselves, in order to take our businesses to the next level. So until then, we got to bootstrap it. I hope that helps. Any other questions? We have like just a few minutes. Okay, I think we're good. All right, with that in mind, if you guys have any other follow-up questions, share them in the group chat. Love to see everybody on the back end using their resources. If there's a tool or a resource that you want me to put up there that you don't have or that you would like, please feel free to reach out, leadership@youngentrepreneurs.syndicate.com. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.
Rachel, put
Yes.
that content creation on the website in the back end. I know that's popped up a couple times. People can use that as a resource. As she suggests, that's a great, kind of step up in your business. It's a great investment. If nothing else, you could look at what you'd like to have, and shoot for that. So anyways, great call tonight, Rachel. I'm on next week. We kind of swap places. Rachel was on fire this morning. She's on 75 hard. So she's rolling right through her days. I'd encourage anybody that wants to get on that. Now's a good time. We'd love to help coach you through it. So thanks for being here tonight. If anybody needs anything, reach out to us. Have a great week.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks. Bye.